Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stream. What's up? Hello, Connor. So, I guess I picked the wrong album to open the stream up with because it just had some man ejaculating as audio. That was pretty cool. Not exactly what I wanted to hear. That's okay.
Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent.
No, it'll be today.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Possibly the most overused sample in edgy music history is the interview with the scientist, or one of the scientists that worked on the Manhattan Project after they've tested the bomb or whatever. Why people decide to use that sample without doing something exciting with it, at least, because it's a banging interview. Like, it's some pretty cool shit. It's pretty crazy. He says some stuff that you can use in a edgy context and still be like epic or whatever, still be impactful, have some emotional resonance, and then they just play it with some shitty echo and do nothing with it. So at least incorporate it into your song, idiot. Anyway, that's my justification for skipping this one and going into the D&B mix that I have queued up. So hope you guys enjoy that bit. All right, so put this in here. All right, so I'm just about done updating or trying to compile the latest build of A's. I'll upload that momentarily. That has fixes for Q relative. Q relative is well, it's not really a fix, it's update for the command so that you can put more than one factory in it when you're requesting stuff. So as an example, I have in a situation over here, because really the only thing that I have to worry about with this is Protoss. Hydra Protoss obviously can build zealots from warp anchors as well as from gateways, but not from principalities. So the same is true for, like, or I guess some similar aspect for dragoons. They can be built from gateways and from principalities, but not warp anchors. And so carriers can be built from argosies and stargates. Similar sort of thing there. So what I was doing before, because I could only put in one factory idea, was I was just duplicating the command and then making it stargate in one command and argosy in the other. Now we don't have to worry about that because the fix is in, so that's what I changed recently off camera. Otherwise, I did just recently update Hydra V01, but nothing crazy. I moved a little bit of terrain in the natural of player 1, and I spent some time working on I fixed the Vorveling bug where they can't burrow. Not the Vorveling bug where the AI Vorvelings break and freeze. No idea why that happened. And DF was sending me a cap of his latest changes to the ice tile set. He's been doing some custom tiles for his ramps to add a little bit more variety. And he'll be messing around with some other stuff later too. I assume it has something to do with like basically when the AI finishes morphing a unit, they assign it differently. Like there's a whole underlying set of systems that the AI interacts with that are specifically for AI that the player doesn't need to worry about at all. So like a corollary would be the AI doesn't ever need buttons because the AI just issues commands on a code-based level to get its units ordered or its upgrades started or whatever. You know, they don't have to hit B, S to build a supply depot with an SCB, right? So there's a lot that they interface with that players don't, and there's some stuff that players interface with that the AI doesn't. The player will never interface, or the AI will never interface with buttons or anything like that. So, yeah, it's stuff like that. I assume some disparity between that is why. Because I've never been able to replicate the Vorbeling issue with my own Vorbelings just by playing them, or building them. I guess, maybe before I jump into working on Inconsummate. Today I'm mostly going to be doing decoration. I highly doubt I'll be able to get any other script writing stuff done, but I will probably look over the AI somewhere in the stream. But before I do that, because I am going to be using Vorbelings or in Consummate, I think it would behoove me to actually make a test map. So we'll say, if I can make a test map that consistently breaks the same way. I haven't used the actual Q command in a while, so now I need to go and look that up. Alright, well, with that, oh, alright, that's good. Can start building that now, hopefully. I'm pretty sure I don't even have to do anything with the map. I just... Right, so I believe what happens before this is, like, because it's the Q command specifically, I've never seen the Q command fail, right? So in this case, if we do, instead of Q, we'll do like... We'll do morph and see if that works. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're already seeing it happen quite a few times over here with do morph. Okay. So that is an example of an AI that is fucked. So here we'll have... So I'll upload this to a mega folder and link it to iQuare. It'll be a nice way, like a way to very easily look at stuff that's gone wrong here. And then I haven't forgotten that you asked me for a map overview for V01. Connor, I'll send that to you in a second. That's weird. Oh, I had to cancel my I had to cancel one transfer to get it to start working again. Or maybe it's just going super slowly. Yeah, maybe my internet's getting throttled. I didn't even consider that. Right, script queue, right, Icor? Oh, actually, I seem to be fine, internet-wise. I don't know. Maybe Mega just having a temporary issue. Throw that up there too. And that's done. If we pop in here, what is this? For target debug. Target release. It's been okay. Now I can go and close that. Saving 91%, by the way. Well, I guess it's double the size if it's not indexed, so we'll keep it indexed. I can't send this over Discord though. So we'll send it to Imgur. Imgur compresses images, man. Holy moly. Though I guess that could also be my browser, since apparently that happens too. So we're almost ready to start the decor process. I know I've been doing a lot of shit on my second monitor. Updated A's. Messed around with some other stuff. I do want to head over to the wish list and update that. So I'll put that on this monitor so you guys have something to look at. Alright, a lot of these need to be edited pretty heavily, but I'll scroll back up there later on. Let's see. I feel like it might be easier for me to edit this if I put it into Notepad. I don't know if I can actually use that. No, that's not it. Oh, what's up, Alexander? How was it? Well, it's still under construction, so the final difficulty may change. One thing that I think will happen is if the AI is between one, well, at one base, the AI should probably should keep the resource multiplier of 1.5, and then when they get their second base, and basically rather than it being based on bases, it should be like when their income level is above a certain amount. So like sort of like how you would track APM. If you track income, there should be thresholds where an AI has the multiplier scale with their income level, but in like an inverse. So as their income goes up, the multiplier goes down, eventually going down to 1. That would be a sensible change, I think. But a little difficult to intuit. It just basically means that the rich don't get as rich. So at some point, I mean, like, the AI would still be rewarded for building expansions, obviously. Especially once they get to the point where they can't go any further down. The multiplier doesn't go negative, so. Yeah, the CCMU fix isn't that big of a deal. I mean, when it happens, Iceware, it'll be great. I'll definitely be updating Stormborn when it does happen. But I think it's fine to focus on what we're focusing on right now. Well, the thing is, Alexander, when you get to the point where you push out, you feel like you lose when you push out. You've already lost if, when you push out, your whole army dies and then you can't replace them or whatever. Like, your actual point where you cross the threshold of being able to win or being able to come back and be competitive, like, you already crossed that. It's like, it's like in Counter-Strike or a shooter. You don't lose when the enemy shoots you. You lose when you walk into the enemy's crosshairs, or when you made the decision to walk into the enemy's crosshairs, if that makes sense. It's sort of an abstraction. But it's not just the fight that makes it lose. That's like the nail in the coffin. That's like finalizing, putting a note on that. But it's not actually what killed you. The good thing about Starcraft is that you can micro your way out of fights in many respects. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that conditions you to play better in this mod is the fact that you have to be aggro. If you are not aggro, then you're not really doing it. You're not gonna have a great time. Yeah, it's like you can't play defensively and then come out of that shell and win. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not possible, it seems like. Maybe some really skilled players could do it if they expand really aggressively, and then like really stick it in and get stuck in and defend. I think if you were Redwood, you'd be able to do it probably. But in the position that Cordovan's in, no. Right, yeah. I know what you mean, Alexander. I think the first Terran mission will be better for people who are lower skill anyway, because there's more maneuverability. This map assumes competence at a base level and that you've played enough Hydra, at least enough missions of the Terran campaign to kick back. Like that's my target, is like this should be as difficult as probably like the third or fourth mission. I mean, they should all be difficult, but this one expects you to be on the ball, whereas I think you'll have a little bit more breathing room in the... For sure, you'll have more build space, more maneuverability in the first Terran mission. You'll also just in general have... Like, it's a 3v3, it's straightforward, the Protoss aren't there to fuck shit up. You know, it's just Terran against Zerg, so it's a little bit more not laid back, but like normal or natural, or people are going to be more used to situations like that. What's up, Luciferius? Yeah, you have to use 4 clown emojis. It's a committee. You can't have only one. 4 or more. Alright. I gotta move my shit around here to not get pranked. So I'm trying to go through... Alright, I'm going to migrate most of the stuff to... town state. Now there was and mining. And then yeah, Starcraft is a game where you really have to mechanically practice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the drone thing is a unit mover issue. It's like when a drone tries to land and it's landing on another drone, it can't do it. Like the land order, the drone land order, isn't taken into account by the unit mover at all. I mean, it's not just for other drones. It also happens if there's a borrowed unit, for example. I'm not sure if it happens with other units. I should just fire up my old test map. So I was, yeah. So about the crevices, I was thinking about making them a sprite, and then I remembered that there's a bunch of different crevice tiles. So I guess what I could do is make them an individual sprite for every single crevice. But that seems like a lot of work. And a lot of sprite entries. I mean, once we have the sprite limit expander, it won't matter as much. But I'm thinking like, you know... Let me see how many ones that don't repeat there are. That'll give me some idea what I'm dealing with here. This one is a duplicate of that. That one's a duplicate, and that one's a duplicate. Is this one a duplicate? Yeah. Okay. So there's 8. Eight of them. Are we playing some Starcraft 1 tonight? I mean, we can. There's not really that much to play. I was going to... Let's see. So the raiders have a decision tree, basically. If they are successful in the early game at setting up their base defenses, then they take a more forward expansion that affords them more starports, and they try to escalate to Azazel really quickly so that they can do a death push with a bunch of infantry that are dematrixed, which is actually pretty deadly, believe it or not. If they are on the defensive, they take this back base and they go for factory tank-focused. Not tank-focused, since they have a lot of barracks, but they supplement their infantry with tanks, and they delay the Azazels a little bit. And then there's like There's a little wrinkle in there, like how quickly they expand will also depend on how much they've been pressured. Whether or not they bother to try to defend the Protoss as well, like set up defenses before the Protoss arrive, that'll also depend on how performance goes. And I want to say there's the delay between attacks depends on how aggressive the player has been, how successful the player has been at damaging them, stuff like that. Dawn, I put up a poll in Special Bus if you want to vote on the fraud game. I don't actually do weight random anymore, that much anyway. I think I do it based on, like, in the middle of attacks or something sometimes. But I will be eliminating most of the random weights. Because I agree that it's better to have stuff that's consistent. Even if the player is unlikely to be able to make it happen. Like, to really work. Like, figure out, oh, they are waiting 2 minutes between attacks or something. Like, good luck figuring that out when you're dealing with, like, a free-for-all. No, Icor, the independent thing that I was just writing is about making it so that the AI, the town needs to satisfy all of its own requests. So if, say the raiders expand to the island, and then I make it so that they can only satisfy military requests or whatever, something like military requests, and worker requests, then that would mean that they have to build all of their workers. They can't take, get old peons or get workers from other towns assigned to them, which does happen pretty often otherwise. And they can't request military. That like military can't be trained at another location and then ferried over with a dropship. It would have to be trained locally. So that can lead to issues. Like if I requested a siege tank and there's no factory over here assigned to this town, that could be a problem. But that's basically my idea anyway. That will come in handy in some cases. I think most notably it doesn't really come into play too much lately, but I had a lot of maps back in the day where it was like one AI and they had two bases that were really far away from each other. I guess a good sort of relation would be Stormborn. There's like 3 different bases for what's it called, the Renegades. So the Renegades have 3 different bases. Maybe for the top 2, it's fine to have requests be shared between them, but the bottom one is, in order to path through to the bottom one, they have to path through enemy territory. That would be a case where I would probably call independent for everything. Make it so that they have to train everything that they want. So that they don't request military units that then get sent from somewhere else. I mean, maybe I would keep military just because defense makes sense to use defense. But I think I would, make workers distinct as well and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I mean, because Hydra is no longer going to be replacing Brood War, I do want to move all Brood War tech in. Dark Archons, Corsairs. Obviously, that means Valkyries. Charon boosters may still remain out, but... or maybe nerf to only provide +1 range instead of +2. So the Paladins still have a decided advantage or a reason to exist. But maybe I'll just end up removing Paladins, I don't know. Gorgoliths, I'm not sure what IDs they will end up having, but... they will probably just need to extend the number of unit entries that are possible for Vanilla Hydra. I don't think there's enough entries as it stands for everything that we wanted to add. That does mean that stuff like the Mercury and the Aspect and whatnot are not going to be implemented in Brood War Hydra. I think those are the 2 ones that I didn't want to implement that were like... I guess the Augur might end up being implemented, but I'm not going to do that right now, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think the Augur is a real deal. That'll be for a custom campaign instead of a remake. I mean, maybe we'll be able to fit everything in anyway. Especially since we'll have more flingies and sprites and images. But... Yeah, I thought you were talking about something completely different, Connor. But no, the movement is only difficult in that area, again, because of the worker thing. I know that is like that, but I'm not going to change the terrain to fix that when we're going to be fixing it anyway through gameplay changes. Okay, so that's done. So now we can get to the meat and potatoes. Like 2 hours in or whatever. No, just 1 hour in. Nice. So I kind of want to look at the biome of what I've already carved out so far. And I'm wondering if maybe... So there's a couple of different ways I can go with this. I kind of like the idea of the Zerg area being more Badlandsy, more like less lush in terms of how the jungle stuff goes. And, you know, maybe more dehydrated. You know, you got mud. Maybe some higher mud. Oops. Now, the temple that we see here, that really only exists, I think, anyway. I don't really recall the exact mindset I had when I was first making this area. But I believe that only exists because I was very focused on... Well, I had taken a look at the previous map, and I remember a hatchery near a temple, but it was also near some cliffs, so not convinced we need it to be temple. And I also think that if we wanted this area to be more dehydrated and have more carnage than, you know, some of the other areas of the map, the idea that like the Zerg were mostly localized here in this region, in this sphere of influence, and then you know, so they did battle with a lot of Terrans. I think that would be fine, and we could open up a lot of space for visual storytelling and replace the grass that we see in this area and the trees that we see in this area with like mud and maybe some rocks and stuff like that to make it feel like more like a Badlands area. Maybe the trees, some of the trees could stay in spite of all that, but they would be much sparser. And so as you get away from this, you sort of go in deeper into the thicket, and probably this whole central piece will turn into a more jungle-ified area. And you'll also see more Protoss architecture, right? The bridges are all over here as well. And then you'll have like the temple in the middle, which I might end up making a little bit more dominant in the space and have a little bit less maneuverability as a result. But perhaps there could be like a ramp complex, you know, one ramp down here and one ramp on the other end or something like that. Seems pretty trivial if I extend it out a little bit to add something like that so that there's a little bit more elevation to be had in that region. And maybe I'll even move this temple dirt thing down 1 or 2 tiles and link up the ruins in a bit more of a sensible way. And I'll have to make a jungle blend version of this doodad because this whole area is going to be jungle-ified, but that's fine. And then maybe we would have the jungle sort of extend out into this area and then start to peter off. Like, this would be where it starts to fade in this area. That's what I'm thinking. So you would see it sort of radiate away. And then I guess over here as well, you know, you'd have a little bit of jungle on this side, like sticking out, but still a fair bit of mud and dirt. And then, so like this area would probably be, like maybe there'd be a small pocket of jungle or something. But it would still be on dirt cliffs instead of, like, basically looking like it does now, more or less. Whereas all the stuff in here is going to be like jungle cliffs. You know, raised jungle is fine as well. Maybe a little bit more of that. And then, like, the island can also be like a jungle island, I think. More of a swamp area. Maybe I'll save the swamp stuff for another map, but something like that I think could work. And then again, you'd have like jungle sticking out to these bits of the side of the ruins pile across this bridge, and then we would end up having stuff like jungle poking out over there. So with that, I'll quickly delete all of the tree sprites that are over here on the high ground, and we'll rework them. I just need to hide the units. Turn off creep. Oh, great. My favorite. Okay. I think I'll replace all of the plants with fungus. That sounds like a good idea. Actually, I'm not really sure what to do as far as decoration goes for the like ruins. Yeah, yeah, sure. Some sort of carnage. I don't really have, I don't know, I don't know what to do. 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 I don't much to go off of there, though, as far as that's concerned. No. Okay.
The number you have dialed is not in service at this time. Please check to see that you have dialed the number correctly. Remember, Connecticut now has 2 area codes, 203 and 860.
Don't say that. You know, I need to redo some of these tiles. Alright, I think I got everything. So. Oh, forgot that tree. Okay. Uh-huh. That's interesting. So it looks like I just don't have a version of the centerpiece tile that blends with high dirt. Or that has the high tile flag. All right, so we're a little bit closer to the wasteland feel. Obviously, once I end up sprinkling the dead units around, I'll be a little bit closer to the war-torn sense. Obviously, I need to update these assets so that the raised mud doesn't look like raised shit. So that'll be its own exploration. I was thinking of sprinkling in mushrooms, but I don't know how well that'll work. Don't mind the green artifacts. Those will get fixed. That's actually really easy for me to fix. Just don't use the frog version of this cutscene. Tile set, rather. I don't know why I said cutscene. Take it easy, Connor. Cheers. Thanks for your input and your help today. Epic. Got our sprites in place. Well, it's definitely looking a lot more fucked than before, so that's cool. Notably, I'll have to change the base layouts for the Protoss proxy, but otherwise I think we're good. Oh, that's a typo anyway. What's up, Dio? Well, if you have some suggestions, you can run them by Veek, because he's been updating the tile set, or all of the modding tools recently. He made a lot of really nice changes to Pi AI, and also recently fixed Pi Ice in a similar way. So, a stand-up gentleman. Should you be able to write down your complaints. I would write them in Newbor, see if anybody else has, like, you know, crowdsource any other ideas that people have. Oh, right. Well, I can send him that. Yeah, I'm already compiling your Hydra build, thanks.
Your forces are under attack.
I'm not seeing any stuck ones, so looks like that was a fix. I'll run through Zergo 1 again just to make sure that we aren't missing anything as far as like functionality somehow, but that'll be a little bit later. Looks good. Alright, I have PyTile open now. I got a crash with trying to get another crash. I got a different one. That's pretty cool. Functional tools. Wait, what? It works? I can't make the crash happen. When importing megatiles, anyway. Well, I have no idea. Maybe they have to be... No, they don't have to be different. I have no idea. Can you, if you can trigger it, DF, can you send me a paste bin of the... whatever it is? Crash report. I like how this has basically just been a wikidot modding stream, but whatever. Yeah, Warling modding stream. Holy shit. That fucking voice sample scared the shit out of me. I thought somebody was right next to me. Because it's like in the left ear for some reason. Psychedelic trance, by the way. Alright, while I wait for that report from DF, I will be right back. decay. Hi. Can you believe this shit? PyMS modding stream, IMO. Alright, done that.
Our wanderer, grant me your strength and both and victory. Victory, 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 victory,
Oh, what's up? I mean, I've been working on this map for a while, but it's the first mission of my latest campaign project. A remake of Inconsummate, which is a really old campaign from 2017. So not really old, but old. Right now, I'm on lunch break.
Our wanderer, grant me wisdom, courage, and victory. Friend Thor, grant me your strength and both and victory. Victory, 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 victory.
What time have I got? It is 12:50 here. Or... Wait. No, yeah, 12:50. Even if you're using military time. All right, I sent those crashes to Veek. Thank you for that, Dio. All right, let's do it. Let's do something a little bit different. I think I'm feeling a lot of resistance related to decorating right now because I'm so far off the beaten path in terms of actually having the assets. So, rather than decorating the map, I think maybe I should go back to working on those ruined terrain assets. Let's see what we got. Alright. I'm not sure what I would do to go back to the old ones, so rather than worry about that, it looks like we only did one ultra, so... Why don't we get that one in there? Oh, I already had a hue saturation. Putting that other one over there, my other monitor, so I can see how I posed it. I'm definitely going to be doing something a little bit different, though. Oh, I have to set my interpolation back to nearest neighbor. But I think the biggest thing here is that we should get the torso placed adequately. So that'll probably be... That'll be all right. Yeah, I'll have to make versions of those graphics as well, but I'll wait until we have a more finalized asset before worrying about that. Oh, shit. Who would have guessed? All right, let's see. So you mean convert each part into a smart object? I didn't know that actually did anything when it comes to moving it around. It looks like a bit of a Gaussian blur all of a sudden, to be honest. But... oh. It doesn't even use interpolation when moving this around. So it seems. Ah, okay. When I'm done, moving them around. I guess the biggest hassle is that I'm not really able to, like, it's a good example. Like, say I want to take a layer, I have to rasterize it after already doing that, but I'll just get used to the new process. Alright, just fucking transform these without reconverting them anyway. What's up, Vic? Don't say Claude. Cloud. Alright. I do need to grab.
I didn't really taste any.
Just takes a while.
Another claw. Alright. Who's responsible for this? I agree with that emoji right now. Did I decide what the lighting was going to look like? It looks like down and to the left is the decided approach. What are you expecting, huh? Functionality? You should know better than that by now. I don't remember what brush I used for this. Somehow I feel like it was 25 maybe. Well, I would say it looks like the I did a lot more aggressive shadowing in the other versions. And I definitely still need to work on the blood a bit more. What's up, Alexander? Welcome back. That log is only for iScripting, which is the animation code. A's .log would give you information on AI-related stuff and stuff that the AI script extender plugin does, which is more than just AI, it's also gameplay. But only if you get a crash would that be potentially useful. Rather, if you get a panic, it will log to the A's log. So in that case, you would send the last couple of lines of that or whatever. The debug log is probably just talking about the forwarding bug, which we've presumably fixed, but I need to do a run to verify that before I upload it. I guess I could just make you guys do the testing in that sense. Doesn't seem very nice. So yeah, that IS debug log is only for like if there's an error in the animation code. Which in this case, the only reason why that was happening was because of some very obscure plugin issue that had nothing to do with what I did or what iCore did. Or maybe it had something to do with what one of us did with regards to the plugin, but it doesn't seem logically connected in any way. With that map, I mean, my go-to in that map in general is yeah, I thought so. Hold on one second. I'm focused. So, in that map, what I like to do is I like to take... Where's my image so I can show you? Well, I guess I'll just open up the map and show you. Wrong tile set. So, I like to leave this as a creep colony for a while. I'm actually morph it into a spore usually. And so I wait until I'm at 9 drones and then I expand. And then after I expand, I overlord and then drone. And then usually what I do is like put 1 creep colony up here. It buys me enough time against the Terrans. Or 1 sunken colony rather to the north will buy me enough time against the Terrans. But I usually only put that up there after I've already placed a creep colony, not a sunken colony, just a creep colony in the expansion. And depending on whether or not I've been attacked by the Protoss by that point, I'll either put it right below the hatchery or I'll put it to the north. If the Protoss have already attacked me, then I usually put it to the north to intercept the Sienna attack, the tank attack. If the Protoss have attacked my ally instead, then I usually put it south, because that's actually a better position anyway. You kind of bait the enemy to come in further, closer to you. And so I'll put like 1 colony there and then eventually a 2nd colony to the right. But usually I can get 2 colonies up in the natural before they attack me anyway. And so I do those 2 things, and then by the time I'm morphing colonies, I'm also cutting drones a little bit so that I can get enough combat units to survive the first couple of attacks. And usually those are like 6 Zerglings is usually more than enough. So it's only 3 larvae, which isn't the worst. And then I go back to drone production until I would probably say like you want maybe 9 drones in your natural mining minerals, and at least 2 on each gas, and probably at least 6 drones mining minerals in your natural. And then you want to cut drones until you've taken another base, and then you can more aggressively saturate. So that other base could be down here, the Protoss, could be in Scarlet territory in the middle, could be over here in the low ground. You could challenge Scarlet's natural for a lot of minerals. Really depends on what your playstyle is. Obviously you could take like one of the bases to the left, although that is more usually reserved for Redwood. I always let him have those because I know he's going to be a lunatic in the future. So that would be my playstyle anyway on this map. I usually go for like Zergling, just a couple of Zerglings for defense until I either get Mass Hydra or Mass Muta. Well, Muta Ling, because you have a lot of leftover minerals. But as far as defense goes, it's really just about like making sure you have combat units to intercept AI enemies when and enough sunken colonies to like fall back into. And so I would usually do like 1 spore, 3 or 4 sunkens in the natural, which is probably still like you probably need less than that. But it's usually good enough to do like 1 spore and 2 sunks in each expansion that you take. If you do take a base that's closer to Scarlet, you want to put at least a 2nd spore because of the Wraith spam, because they will kill spore colonies. But you don't have to do that until like maybe 15 minutes in or something. And then if you're playing more towards the Protoss and you scout out that they're going Reaver, then you'd probably want to hit you either want to build Queens, because you'll already have a Queen's Nest for Hive, or you'll go just Muta. I would stay away from going Muta against at least taking your Mutas into Protoss if they've gone air because of all of the scouts, but I guess it's still possible to win. It's just that Hydras fare a lot better against scouts, so. I guess you could bring Scourge with you, but that's a very gas-intensive build. All right. So, oops. I was trying to add a bit more. Need to add more depth below here. Ah, cool, Veek. Are you going to make it an actual installation? Out of curiosity. Well, I only asked because it's in the name, so I wasn't sure what the significance of the name was in that sense. But I guess it's because it's like there's an installation as part of it, even if it's not the whole thing. Something like that. Right, yeah, I guess you'd have to make these single... Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about now. You'd have to make that installation more of a set piece for that area, I guess. Expansion placement. Well, I think barring some very specifically niche circumstances, you should... Ow. Not hurt yourself while you're trying to explain something. Every player on the map should have a relatively easily accessible base to take a natural from. And if you want... So, one way that you obviously balance stuff is by making certain areas of the map. Like, certain players may be at a positional disadvantage at the beginning of the map, right? Which would basically just mean that maybe there's, less immediately accessible expansions. Like that's one way that I do that all the time is, if you look at the Terrans here, they have picked an intelligence starting position, right? They've had the luxury of being able to pick that because of their previous wartime in this area, right? Their performance. Whereas the Zerg, Stralium, in this first map of Inconsummate, doesn't have that luxury. It's actually been beaten back. This is the last base that he's got anymore. So that's not something I really comment on in the narrative, but the idea is when you're in a disadvantageous position to start out the map, it's probably not because you picked that, your character picked that position. It's because there was no choice. They had to go there. So obviously this kind of line of thinking opens up a whole host of different narratives that you could then pluck at. Like, oh, should we have some functionality that lets players select their start location and they can pick the one that has less resources near it, but is easier to defend or something? Obviously that's neither here nor there. It's tech we may not ever get in Brood War, and in that case, it would have to wait until our own RTS. But I just look at it like, the Raiders, they have access to, I would say, at least 3, if not 4, expansions that are relatively safe to take. The island, the 2 in the south, and the one over here in the top right, or the upper right of their area. Which obviously then leads them to, if they control that area, and specifically the high ground, they can also take 2 more bases. So, the rich get richer. So what I'm saying is it comes down to map balance as well. It comes down to what you actually want to achieve map balance-wise. So if you're looking for a situation where the player is Zerg, by player I mean AI or human player, they should also, you have to take into account racial balance as well. The reason why naturals exist in Brood War the way that they do for melee maps is actually mostly because of Zerg, because of the fact that their production structures are also their town centers. And so they need to expand, but they also need to be able to place enough production structures, enough macro hatcheries and such. In order to expand their production, the best way for them to do that is to actually expand in general. And so there's a little bit of a benefit where they require less minerals, 50 less minerals total, to build a town hall compared to the others. But map balance has to cater to them differently. So if you've got a Zerg and you want them to perform well without too many issues, then you can keep their natural expansion close by. And if you want them to have to go out of their comfort zone, again, AI or player, that would be a situation where you would put the expansion in a dangerous to defend place, but still close by, or a far enough away place, but able to defend. You don't want to make it both hard to defend and hard to get to in a timely manner. Because the rush distance, the defender's advantage that you have by having production structures local in your area, is one of the reasons why Zerg are able to defend adequately when they are pressured in the early game but have been expanding. Because they can't really defend adequately if all of their larvae are taken up because they only have one hatchery and they've been building drones. You know, so that's one of those situations where like they don't have the benefit of being able to plop down barracks or gateways. So understanding the game at a high enough level so you can make decisions like that will also help you make expansions that are not only paced well in terms of, or placed well in terms of map pacing. So like the player isn't running into a bunch of potentially spaces where the AI can potentially expand into and take, and it's like too close for comfort or too far apart to have any action or whatever. But also balanced enough for the players to actually find success if they play well. So I know Infested Installation is a Terran map. Obviously, you're playing as Terrans. In that situation, if you wanted to allow players to be rewarded if they use the Terran racial elements, traits, well, you would have an island expansion because that favors Terrans. You could have cliffs in general that are around expansions that allow Terrans to drop tanks on them or just position tanks on them. You know, if there's a reverse ramp or a ramp into that area, obviously Terrans can take more advantage of that. Maybe you would have less unbuildable terrain around pathways into bases to allow Terrans to build bunkers and missile turrets. And again, by every metric that I've listed here, if you want to make Terrans require more skill in generic macro and just playing the game, and nothing Terran specific, or not as Terran specific, then you would minimize the amount of areas that the Terran race specifically can exploit in a way that other races cannot. So you would make things more homogenous in that sense. I don't like that approach, but that's just like functionally how you would do it. Is you would decide based on the player's race and based on any player's race. Like I like to conceptualize AI as actual players. It helps with constructing a script and a personality for them that is going to keep player immersion intact. So, you know, in this case, I've designed the map so that there's an island expansion for the Terran player here to lift off into, but he's not going to bother with building a command center and then floating it there, which is slower and potentially riskier if there's enemy units in the area. And obviously, it's harder to reinforce an island expansion. It's just there are a lot of elements of baggage that come with that decision. And so it can't just be a decision that he takes lightly. He's not going to take it unless he really needs it, like is desperate for an expansion, and this is like the safest approach that he can take, or one of the safer things that he can do. Then he will do that. But then, you know, otherwise he'll expand in a more conventional location. So like stuff like that, you know, dropping tanks on islands in, if you remember back to Hydra Zerg, or Hydra Terran 08, the big push in the remastered version. Or I guess the 1.0 version. Because obviously now it's not remastered compatible anymore. There's an AI that lands tanks on an island and starts to siege the player's minerals. You know, that stuff was obviously very ham-fisted in that project, but like it was shoehorned in. It wasn't as natural. But the fact that I designed terrain specifically so that a race could exploit that. It just happened to be TBT, so you know both races could exploit it in theory, but it wasn't around a neutral expansion, a neutral area of the map. It was actually instead around a player's base. So it could only really be exploited by one player. Now, there was a little bit of back and forth there where the player could also take that area and build turrets and use that to intercept enemy attacks. So it was still advantageous for them to take it, but they mostly took it to deny the enemy an advantage as opposed to taking it to gain an advantage of their own, which is a distinction that I should make when it comes to that stuff. Is this the entire map, or is this just a small pocket? Like I don't know if this is what the whole map looks like. Looks to me like, I mean, again, this is super early draft, right? So I can't. It doesn't look like this is the whole map because there's an expansion on the right that is off camera. There's a pocket, yeah. Well, assuming one of the players is blue and one of the... Well, again, trying to conceptualize them all as players, but... For one, I would say it's actually pretty difficult to flank around blue, assuming he's in the bottom left-hand corner. I mean, again, I'm operating on incomplete information. If there's no way to go around blue, like you have to go through his base to use those leftmost ramps, right? So I would actually create more space directly to the left on a low ground or a higher ground stacked cliff passage or something, so that you can go around him if necessary. Like put him further away from the corner. Yeah, I mean, if you want to send me the whole thing, you can just do save map image and then convert it to a PNG with Photoshop or AirFinView or XNView or something. I would say the north, like the, okay, so top left of the screenshot. That base looks actually, I mean, I can't really give you any feedback on this because I don't know where the rest of the fucking map is. You're already using 256 width. Well, yeah, then you're not intelligently using that area, and you should move it to the right. So just, like, take the whole cliff and move it to the right. Or keep the rest of the cliff where it is and move the base, the minerals, and the start location to the right. And then take the ramps and convert them into a low path or a high path. But yeah, I don't know everything that's happening here, so I can't really give you a feedback. Like removing the ramp and turning it into low terrain. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Basically just compacting it a little bit. Then you make the player actually step out of their comfort zone in order to build production. and you allow, like, say they build stuff in the bottom left, supplies, production, whatever, then all of a sudden you can flank them and take those out without having to engage with the main area. Obviously, it's still a little claustrophobic in that area, so the tanks or bunkers or whatever would probably still be able to influence the battlefield, but it's a bit better anyway. No, I didn't even know. Hoop Thrower said something about Mapperino, but I thought he was joking. Is it a coronavirus contest or something? I have no interest in experiencing anything related to that, so... Not after I was dragged through the mud a second time. I think I'm all set. Just my involvement made it so that everybody was very angry. So I think I'll stay far the fuck away from that place. The real toxic wasteland. Quarantina. Jesus. What a self-parody. Yeah, he's shaping up. Oh, hey, iQuire. Fagudo's got a crash, and he's attached Ollie Debug before the crash, and he's asking for instructions. He's posted a screenshot of the first address that the crash was at. But I don't know if that's where he crashed this time. I think Creep being able to traverse ramps without being buildable is a pretty significant gimmick. I mean, that's what happened with Starcraft 2, right? It's not useful for movement because we're not putting stupid movement rules in like Starcraft 2 has. Zerg doesn't need that defender's advantage. But I can see the utility of spreading Creep over unbuildable terrain and not being able to build on it, but still being able to connect Creep down, in theory. So, like, if you place a colony and it can go from, you know, a colony that's placed here, and it could spread down to there, and the low ground where you can build another colony, I can see the utility in that. That's what I was thinking of making a... I was thinking of basically doing that exact thing. Is if it was walkable terrain but was unbuildable, then Creep... Like a tile that is predominantly walkable but unbuildable can have Creep spread over it. And it wouldn't be buildable, but it would be... like, obviously Creep would be able to spread down it. So I was already planning on doing something like that, but apparently it would be challenging to program, so... Yeah, he did attach all the debug before he got a crash. Well, yeah, I told you what I wanted out of that was like a slightly transparent Creep, and you said that that would be super challenging to do. So, yeah, it would definitely be difficult to visually see that. Oh yeah, I forgot to order G Fuel. I should have ordered that a few days ago. Well, yesterday. Shipping times are nuts. Well, I'm lost on that one. But I have to use the bathroom, baby. Alright. Icor, can you believe, like, when we actually have our own RTS, it will be epic. Don't you understand? Epic, I say. We'll be able to add anything we want. It'll be excellent. Adding a new unit won't require fucking sorcery. Okay, I've got some... Alright, I've got some ideas here. Chief among them. I've got to increase the depth of this to make sure that it's obvious that it's, like, raised up a little bit. Oops. And then, on depth above, definitely add more of a separation there. Also thinking over here we have well, it was a struggle, but we actually seem to have gotten an okay first draft for this thing. Yeah, no kidding, V. Oh shit. It's because I was listening to music. It does that all the time now.
You know that place between sleep and wake? That place where you still remember sleeping.
What happened? Oh, are you talking about the Ultralisks? I feel like they came out pretty well. Also feel like... Oh, that's actually part of something else. What is that part of? The head, maybe? Yeah, that's stuff I didn't want in the picture. It definitely looks more like there's a place for it in the environment. I feel like the top one is too big, for one. I feel like it needs to be shrunken a little bit. But I'm not sure about that one. Work in progress, even so. Top one is older, so who knows what's up with that. Oh shit, a guy is talking to me in the middle of music. He must be epic. Pretty sure that's how that works anyway. I was kind of tempted to go back in and start by like editing all of the old ones, but I didn't, like, I wasn't really recently active working on stuff like this, so it didn't make any sense. All right. Well, we've made some progress there. I guess my next stream will probably not be Inconsummate. It will probably be either Hydra or Total Deer or something else. And my next actual Inconsummate stream will either be just art creation like today. Well, like the Ultralisk stuff, but for a longer period of time where I'm doing it for a whole stream. And then I think other than that, I'll probably end up just doing starting work on the second map. Because until I have final decoration for stuff like Jungle Cliffs and all the other ideas that I wanted to throw in there, I am definitely going to run into resistance actually working on anything. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't want to decorate something when it's not even really a first draft decoration because it looks nothing like what the final one will. Not even close. So I view the first draft decoration as like what I've already got done, basically. And in that sense, until I get the new assets finished, either from myself or from DF or from whoever else, probably going to be one of us. Yeah, until I get that stuff done, it's going to be a while. Speaking of which, DF, do you have any interest in making an organic, like, natural ramp for snow in the ice tile set? I've made the front-facing one, and it looks okay, but I wasn't sure what you had in mind for if you were planning on making a natural one. Perhaps adapting the style of one of the other ramps. Or making a brand new one from scratch. I didn't know what you thought of that. It seems like the tile set could use natural stuff. Yeah, I'm not talking about reverse ramp. I mean, like, were you ever planning on making one? Like, would you use it for your own project? Since now you're using stuff in the ice tile set, it might make sense. You know what I mean? Okay, I was just curious. Is there any interest in, at some point, going back to update all of the ones that you did by hand instead of threeing them? Well, threeing them instead of what you did by hand? I didn't know if you had any... I guess that's probably not something you're imminently concerned about doing right now. But... would definitely be banging. I was also thinking, there's so many different dirt ramp variants that I've done. Maybe some of the dirt ramps, like, you know, the custom dirt ramps, could be threed easily enough without looking fucked up. I'm not sure which ones would fit the bill in that sense, but maybe there could be some that are sizable enough that we can have like alternate, like variations basically of the reverse ramps. The north-facing ones might work. It's been a long time since I've worked with this map, man. Holy Lord. Well, I just meant if you've seen any of them, might work out. But I... holy shit. I see what you mean. Or I know what you mean. I think that's just something that comes with the territory, man. I have that same exact feeling all the time. I like that. Yeah, that was really, that's something that really destroys me. It just, an error briefly pops up and then does nothing, unfortunately. Oh, welcome back, Ultralisks. Since I finished making an Ultralisk, dead, in Artisan, you can check that out if you want. I'm just looking through V-Terran 01.
Straight up and down. Let's get back to the funk. Straight up and down.
All right. Well, that'll do it for me. I did a little bit of work on this map. I'll set up the session and all that in Notepad. Save session. And that's that. Bye. See you soon for Fraud Night.